Hello and welcome in. We are back here in Red Lane Zoo. What is happening? Yeah. So, this has kind of been on the back burner for a while, and I figured now would be a good time to restart it. We have the announcement of Planet Zoo 2, and to be honest, I actually built this habitat. I started it in January. I did a little bit more in March, and then I finished it off the other day. So this has kind of been a labour of love whilst also kind of forgetting about it. Sorry about that. I was trying to get it out in January, but you know, things happened. Anyhow, we only have 6 episodes, including this one, to do in this zoo. So I'm kind of thinking we can do a slow burn and just sort of finish them off. Maybe then have a tiny little break if we have space before October, and then we're going to dive straight in to the new game. That's kind of what I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe hoping we can do. I've got to be honest, I don't really know at this point. As I say, this habitat took a long time to kind of get into this position, so maybe, possibly, perhaps, hopefully. No promises, but hey, here's one episode in this. So we are actually working on the White-Faced Saki. These are, I think these were part of the last DLC that came out with this game. I haven't built for them before. I've seen other people's I did a little bit of reference work of what kind they need and stuff like that, and kind of just based it off of here. But we are also kind of using a reference image from what is actually the Predator house at Berlin Zoo. We're kind of going to take the idea of it and kind of work it into what we need. I guess is the way we're gonna say it into here. So it's not gonna be a recreation, but it's gonna kind of have the at least shape and look of that in here. So there is one sort of habitat, and I'm not sure what animal actually goes in here, but it kind of has 2 Averys on kind of like the outside, and then an internal section. That's kind of what we're working on here, and then there's going to be other bits and pieces kind of around this building in here. But yeah, looking forward to that, and super looking forward to the new game as well. So it's coming out on the 13th of October, which I've got to be honest is a little bit earlier than what I was expecting. We kind of had known that they were working on this, but the last one was out in, I think it was like early November, because it was like around my birthday if I remember correctly. So I kind of presume like a November kind of date, or like a late October, but this seems quite early, I've got to be fair. But hey, I'm down for it. Why not? Into here. And we are also getting so much more than I think, at least I was expecting. I was kind of expecting like the same kind of animals, different sort of like meshes, like the different sort of bodies, more like colorizations and sort of bodies and shapes and things like that. I was not kind of expecting sort of flying birds, aquatic animals, those sorts of things. I kind of thought maybe not, because I mean they have them in the Jurassic Worlds and all of those, so maybe it was something, I know it was something that we'd wanted for this game for a long time, but we kind of never got, so I kind of just wrote it all off. But now super excited to get all of this into there, and yeah, loving all of the animals that they've released, like all of the little trailers and kind of like behind the scenes little animal sort of snippets and stuff like that. Yeah, and as I say, the sort of new animal sort of characters and the shapes and colorizations, they look gorgeous. I've seen lots of little details about hidden little things that people are finding as well. I'm loving the foliage, I've got to be fair. Whether it's like a full seasonal option going through, or whether that's just like you get different options for plants and things like that, I don't know, but I'm super loving kind of the autumn, kind of fall vibes they're giving off. And I have seen snow on the ground in some, I think of one of the habitats that was kind of like a bird, I think it was flying over and you sort of see the ground, which super looking forward to. The underwater aquatic animals, that was fun. Again, we're saying about flying animals and like all the birds. I'm cautious about that in the terms of like environmentally, like a lot of sort of zoos and aquariums are taking the kind of the bigger animals off of sort of display, like they're being returned to the wild. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel too much about that, but we'll have to sort of see how it's kind of like implemented. And I imagine the land that you would need for those, or like the water, would be very large. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to building for them, but we'll have to sort of see in there. But I'm loving like the little sort of the fish and the little turtles and all those, and I think we've got a couple of sharks as well, haven't we, coming in there. But birds and flying, they seem like really fun. Kind of, I'm building an Avery right now. So yeah, let's talk Averys. I hated building this, and this is one of the reasons why this video actually took so long. I struggled with this, and anyone who kind of knows me and has watched any of my videos, whether that's over on Twitch when I was doing them over there or here, knows I hate Averys. They just don't look right for me. I can't get them to drape right, I can't get them to be in the right shapes and things like that. We kind of have done two very close together in this, because we've done the Jaguar house. I say not that long ago, it was a couple of episodes ago, but it was probably like a year ago, which I hated building but now love. Let's put it that way. It was not easy in there. I'll put a tag up in the top corner for you for that one to go back and have a look at that video, and you will see my level of hatred for all things kind of mesh and Avery like in here. So I'm kind of hoping with the new ones that they are going to be like kind of like the habitat barrier walls that we kind of have, where like you can set the area and then like the Avery will just appear, like make it auto for me so that I don't have to do it, I guess is probably my lazy option. But also kind of give you the option to create your own, because customization is great, and all of that. But for me, I absolutely hate Averys into there. But I'm super looking forward to the sort of the birds, and we've got like secretary birds, we're gonna have like toucans, I'm hoping kind of like parrots, and kind of other larger kind of birds as well in there, that I think they're just gonna look really good sort of flying over, especially because you can like walk in them, which is what I'm kind of creating here in a way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of building all of those into there. And the wildlife reserves, that was a kind of a very nice touch, I've got to say, especially kind of going back to what I was saying about the aquatic animals. I really want to do like a kind of an African kind of reserve kind of thing. I've got so many ideas for what I'm going to do for this game, but I know that until I actually get my hands on it, I don't know what exactly I will do. So yeah, I have plans, I have lists, I have spreadsheets, I have details. I just don't know how it's going to work at the moment. You'll have to wait until October to kind of find out into that. But let me know down in the comments if you are excited, if you are looking forward to getting your hands on this game, what you think, and any of that sort of thing. I would be interested to know, are you looking forward to release day? Are you going to wait until kind of the pack or the game is out and check it out? Let me know into there. But yeah, so I think, I mean, I've said it before that when we kind of release an animal to the wild, it kind of disappears, and it was kind of a bit of an odd one that it just sort of vanishes. So I guess now we're going to kind of see where they go, which is a nice little touch in there. Maybe if you're doing like a franchise zoo, maybe they kind of tie it into there, so if you can't release to the wild unless you have a wildlife reserve, maybe something along those lines. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe, possibly, perhaps. I don't really know. I'm just speculating on it at this point into there. But yeah, the images that I've seen are gorgeous. Like the build pieces. I know they've said that we're going to have some more themes than what we have in kind of like the base game of Planet Zoo 1. So kind of looking forward to lots of options and just sort of getting my hands on the game and seeing what we can do into there, and obviously seeing what all of the other amazing creators can sort of build with it. I don't know whether there's going to be like an early access. Obviously I'm not part of any of that sort of team, but definitely looking out for some of those who will get their hands possibly on the game a little bit earlier, as to what they build and what they create. So definitely check all of those out. But yes, the images, I'm loving kind of like the water effects and stuff like that. They look really cool, because I mean they can be a little bit iffy in this game in here, so looking forward to sort of that, especially because obviously we're going to have aquatic animals. You kind of need to have good water for them into here. But I have been waffling about future plans and things. Let's talk about what we're actually doing right now. So this is actually quite a large habitat for them. I kind of looked at the plan, as I said, of the predator house in Berlin Zoo and kind of roughly worked it off on there. I've only got a couple of images from when it was like being like thought about that they were going to change it, kind of like the rendering in there. I've not really seen too many actual images of the new house once it's actually built in there. Google Maps didn't really have, like, it was under construction when somebody last went round the zoo, so that didn't help into there. But the Averys kind of on this side are too big really for the White-Faced Sakas. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, let me know if I am. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to build them a really nice sort of large kind of habitat in here, and that's kind of what we've done. We've then placed a lot of like planting and things in as well, so that it's sort of less space for them, especially when you look at like what's on the floor and like the actual sort of lands that they have. We do also have an interior section for them too, but there's no sort of backstage area. I've not done it for this habitat. I feel like I will maybe in one of them in this sort of like house. I might do a one backstage area. Backstages are not really my thing. I kind of struggle with them, so I'm gonna leave that. I think I maybe just do like the odd one or two, likely just one kind of plan in here for those. But we're just sort of finishing off this so that it is now actually complete. This hedgerow actually does get changed quite a lot in here as well, just because it is so clipping through all of the walls and other bits and pieces into here. And yeah, we didn't need some of that because the blockwork kind of comes out a little bit too much as well. Now the animals can technically climb this, which is a little bit weird, but they can't actually escape the habitat, so I think I've turned escaping off in my sandbox settings, so it's not too much of a problem for me in here. To be fair, I have actually turned off basically everything, kind of like plants, space, kind of like the number of them. Really good sort of settings in Sandbox to do all of those. You can tell it's been a while since I've done a Planet Zoo video, and a voiceover for one. What do I say? Yeah, I wanted some elevated kind of planting, and this is kind of the only one we kind of get in here. I don't really know why, it was just this weird corner was a little bit bland in there, so I figured we'll just elevate it, get a few little plants in here. We do kind of go a little bit plant heavy, but I think it kind of all works. But I'll let you be the judge. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any ideas, suggestions, what animal should I do next? So the animals we have left is the coyote, the ocelot, the Colombian white-faced capuchins, the bird's tapir, and that's it. And then we have a zoo tour to finish this all off. That's kind of what I have left in it. So yeah, we are, I'm not going to say quickly coming to the end of this zoo, because I don't know how long quickly it's going to take, but yeah, there's not many left, which I think was probably a good time to take a little mini break. I got so kind of burnt out a little bit with this that I really didn't come back into the game for a long time. And then, as I say, I did the first part of this, so basically like the sort of the mesh, the Avery, that was done in January. The bit you're actually now seeing, this was done in March, looking at the recording dates on here. And the very last kind of internal section that you're going to sort of see, that was done just the other day. And at kind of every stage of that, I've had to kind of have like a little refresh, a little think, a little plan. So yeah, trying to remember what I did months ago is quite difficult, especially for me. We can all say it into there, but yeah. Also kind of getting in lots of rock work. I wanted no food to be out here, just simply because we weren't going to have keeper access to this section here. The keepers can only go into the like interior part of the sort of habitat in there. So I'm trying to put water somewhere. There we go. In there. So yeah, there's no way for keepers to kind of get out. But I thought that was kind of fine as long as they had sort of internal access to them in here. And to be fair, the animals actually do spend a little bit of time inside as well. They are enjoying their climbing, which is quite nice to see, because these were climbing frames that I placed in here were old ones. You kind of roughly see me do a really bad one, and then I think, hang on, I've got some really nice ones that I did ages ago, why not just copy and paste them? And that's kind of what I did in here. We did also use some trees, but I ended up getting rid of quite a few of those. They were like the ones that we've kind of used in quite a few of the habitats, like the big kind of broken down ones. They just didn't feel right for this, so I kind of ended up removing or sort of trimming them down a little bit in here. But the animals don't spend too much time on the floor, which I kind of like, because they are monkeys at the end of the day, so they are designed to be like climbing and like running around on tree branches and things. So I kind of figured that that would be what they should be doing, which I absolutely kind of love for these guys to be up on the climbing in here. Now we don't have too many trees per se. We kind of have like the, I think it's the beech tree, but like the sapling. I kind of lowered that into the ground a little bit to kind of create some sort of bushes, but it still technically counts as a tree, but it just kind of gives us a really nice bushy kind of look to an area. And then yeah, you can sort of see I'm trying to get trees in, it's just not really working into here. So you'll see I was going to make my own, and in the end I just figured I'll just nick this one from this habitat right here and kind of smush it in here a little bit, and then probably going to delete quite a few bits because it just does not look quite right, and these take up quite a lot of space. And whilst I say this habitat isn't the biggest, or it's quite big, it still technically isn't the biggest in kind of like space wise. I think I have in here 5 males, 5 females, no 6 males, 6 females. I'm planning on 5 juveniles at any one time. We kind of needed 345 meters. I think in total we have like 500 and something odd, which in theory is fine. Not in theory, it doesn't feel like that much. When we all know I tend to go for massively over sort of habitats in here. But now we're gonna kind of move on to do the interior kind of, or like the little link. So this is the only kind of gateway between the two sort of sections. So what you basically have is you have 2 aviaries on the outside with a like guest footpath kind of coming through the middle of them, and then on the interior you kind of only have one side for the animals, and then on the other actually there is a large toilet block. I kind of looked at what amenities we didn't have in this kind of area, and toilets were one of them, and people were like desperately needing the loo. I don't have that many people in the zoo. It's one of the things I've kind of got rid of is kind of guests. I remember when we used to have like 5,000 people in here. That kind of now doesn't work. I think I've kind of capped it at like 1,800, which I think is probably fair enough. Although the zoo is quite large, my computer is slightly struggling if I kind of allowed too many guests in. So I'm kind of just capping them out in here. I've got to be honest, since the last time I pressed play, I have actually upgraded my computer quite a bit. So it probably could now handle it, but hey, that is one of these things. So here we are now on the inside. So welcome back to probably actually late May, early June, when I'm building this. We have caught up in time. So as I say, this is where the toilets are going to go. I struggled with this for some reason. They just were not kind of snapping, but they would if they were like half a meter above the ground, which sounds fine until you realise you then end up with a slope. Why is it such difficult work trying to get things to look right? I don't know. Anyhow, here we are finally got them in, and we've kind of now walled them all off, so they're kind of tucked in there. I'm not going to do anything on the interior kind of with all of that area. It's you're not going to see it, so they can kind of be hidden down the back there. And now we're going to place in our plasterboard. So this side here is where the animals are going to be. You can see the door, and then there is kind of a staff area off to, which is essentially from this angle, the right hand side. I've just placed in a keeper kind of staff room and a like feeding room down there as well. Over time I imagine we'll probably end up with a few more of those, because I have created a whole new work zone for kind of like this area in here, so that like the keepers and all of the staff members have space in here. Now you'll sort of see I forgot to record me placing in the climb frames. You'll sort of see those in the cinematics at the end. But yeah, there is now climbing on both sides of the outside aviary, and also like a linking kind of bridge of climbing for them to get over them, and they can use all of that perfectly fine. The climbing, going back to Planet Zoo 2, I hope that's one thing that they actually kind of look at. I know we've sort of seen video of a chimpanzee kind of swinging through the trees, branching. Gorgeous, love it, perfect. I kind of want them to be able to walk as well on like branches and like the climbing poles and things like that, because I was trying to get cinematics and screenshots of this. They were levitating, and I don't know if anyone else has tried to take screenshots of like monkeys or animals sort of walking on things. You have to be so selective because they just do not look right. Yeah, that basically became a whole thing. I had very careful camera placements, let's put it that way, into there, which I didn't particularly enjoy. I'm gonna be fair with you, into there. But one of those things that hopefully is fixed, but yeah, fingers crossed. So with this interior section, I kind of just wanted it to be an area where the animals can kind of come in a little bit more shade, kind of be fed as well, because as I said earlier, the keepers can't get out to the front. So that's kind of what I was thinking for in here. And then also I kind of just wanted a little bit more privacy, so we're using one-way glass in here so the animals can't really see out. I haven't done the rest of the building. I feel like the building is going to be kind of smooshed together, kind of each animal, each habitat that we do, we're kind of going to develop a little bit more of this sort of building until we kind of have it all kind of complete into here. Now, as I said, it is kind of basically very loosely planned on the predator house, but I'm not going to do like the pyramid roof or anything. Like, I'm kind of taking some liberties with it in here just because I know some things won't work in game. Also, I'm kind of like, I don't really know if I really want to do this. And obviously, like, the size of it, the different habitats, all of those, it's all going to kind of change into there. So, yeah. As I say, there are sort of options in here. Yeah. There's a reason why that was not working. Anyhow, we get those to fit into there. As I say, the habitat is slightly too big for them, but hey, it works in here. And yeah, we managed to get this one in here too. So yeah, they've got some feeding options in here, and I kind of really like the fact that this sort of forage box is actually on the inside of this as well. And I also did place in some sort of planters, like plants and sort of that aspect of things in here as well, because we kind of need some of those kind of coming through in here. And at the moment it's just really a big, boring, bland box. So yeah, we just sort of had to make this look a little bit more pretty in here. So as you can sort of see, using a lot of the same sort of planting that we've used throughout this habitat, but also throughout the zoo. Lots of kind of bracken, lots of this buffalo grass, which I absolutely love. I've placed down the mulch because I kind of wanted it to look like this is a planting area and not just the fact that the plants go directly onto the floor, but it kind of creates this little weird sort of semicircles where you can kind of see the mulch underneath. It's maybe not ideal. I may have to come back in and just sort of tidy that up a little bit, maybe possibly perhaps maybe getting some like little stones or something to kind of get those all in. But we kind of want a little bit of a climbing structure inside here as well, and just sort of using this and kind of a way to kind of get them down, because obviously from that sort of high climbing point on the inside in here as well, we kind of need a way for them to get onto the floor to feed. Now they can all walk under here. I have made sure that one, the keepers can get in here to sort of feed them all, and two, that the animals have no problem walking or like clipping into any of this while they're walking around on the floor or on climbing any of this sort of bit in here, because yeah, that would be very bad into there. But I just thought a nice little extension of all of that would really work in here. Now we are going to kind of move on to doing this front little bit of kind of guest services, I guess. This is where the toilets are. So we have this little ramp up on one side, very kind of annoying, but hey, I'll get over it eventually. I don't know what the issue was, it's just one of those things into there, but we kind of have this sort of dead space, and I figured why not place down some little planting and kind of get in some sort of education and those. Now, I said earlier that I had upgraded some of the parts to my computer. What I have accidentally done is deleted all of the information boards. So you'll have noticed throughout all of the zoo I have created custom information boards. Sadly, they have gone and have gone. They have vanished. I thought I had backed everything up. Turns out, not everything. So they've gone for the game, they've gone for my computer. I have a couple of them, I think, on my Discord, but without the rest of them, it's not really worth me putting them back up. So I've just kind of placed the in-game ones down, and I think that's what we're going to kind of use for kind of all of the habitats now, rather than kind of going through creating custom billboards and signage again. We kind of have some of them in like custom ones off of the workshop. Some of those I might use, but they're like non-animal kind of ones. They're just like, oh, here's the door to this building is over here, that sort of thing, like pointing you to the left or to the right or whatever, which don't actually like do anything in game. So yeah, there's those, but hey, unfortunately it was just one of those things when I upgraded to Windows 11 that everything kind of went wrong, which, hey. Anyway, before we go down that rabbit hole, let's, in here. Now, this is actually quite dark, this kind of area. The lighting is not the best over here. It never really was, and I think that's actually a good thing for this habitat. I do, and you're going to see it in just a second, actually place down a whole row of roof lights, sort of skylights into this whole sort of area, just to kind of bring in some lighting into here, but also it's kind of what I had on the plan. So you're going to hear me probably refer to the plan quite a lot of, I think it's phase 7 plan is what it's actually saved under, because this is the 7th phase of the zoo that we have been slowly working towards, and are so nearly done into there. But yeah, this nice little sort of step up there, I kind of wanted a little bit of space just for like lighting, a little bit of recess, a little bit of kind of hidden sorts of bits and pieces into there. But talking of skylights, here we are making them. Now I am gonna kind of skip quite a lot through this because yawn is very boring to do, the same way that the Avery was kind of complete. Yeah, ta-da! I say that in a jokingly way. It took me forever because, I mean, if you guys know me by now, which I'm hoping you do, you will know that nothing is square, nothing is straight, and everything is more complicated than what it needs to be. That said, this took forever, which I was not expecting or prepared for, of which I hated every second of it. Anyhow, it's in, and you lucky people get to skip to the future, and yeah, voila, it is done. Into here. But we will be kind of cladding a lot of this other sort of the outside of this building, because at the moment it's just kind of concrete and it looks a little bit boring, and yeah, we are going to kind of clad it in there at a later date when we kind of get to that area. But for this section over here, it is all kind of going to be this, it's just going to be concrete for now. It's just one of those things. And we've obviously got the stonework on the front, which kind of means you don't see any of the ugliness that we kind of have in there. I don't know quite what we're going to cover it up with, but we'll sort of figure that one out later on into there. But we're quickly coming up to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed it, then make sure to give me a subscribe and this video a big thumbs up, and you can follow me on all social medias as well. The link is down in the description, but I will see you next time. Until then, stay happy and stay building, everyone. Bye.